I've always had a passion for visual effects, and I'm fascinated with game cinematics as a storytelling medium. So when the future of physical production became uncertain, I decided to pivot away from filmed entertainment and give 3D animation a try. Though I have some experience in visual effects and game development, I've never actually worked on or made an animated film or series before. Now, there's nothing easy about 3D animation. It's a tedious, time-consuming process that requires far more skill and experience than I've yet to acquire. Nevertheless, I approached this as a huge opportunity to learn some new skills, to tell a story, and essentially create an entire world totally immune to precarious regional restrictions and social policies. So, I created a short animation series for my YouTube channel called Dust and Wind. If you enjoy behind-the-scenes content, make sure to like this video, and subscribe to my channel by clicking the bell icon for more films, episodes, and making of videos just like this one. This is part 1 of how I made Dust and Wind, episode 1. Filmmaking is a resource-intensive endeavor. It requires locations, cameras, lights, sound equipment, transportation, and people in close proximity. Animation requires this: a late 2015 iMac 5K with no GPU capability. Dust and Wind is created entirely in Blender and Blackmagic Design's Resolve. Both applications are free, though I do have a studio license for Resolve that I got for free with my Blackmagic Cinema camera. Though I've used Blender in the past to create some rudimentary models, I've never actually used the application in a meaningful way. Until Dust and Wind, I'd never actually rendered a frame out of Blender before, so I was really starting from scratch. I began by updating to version 2.8. I chose to make Dust and Wind with Blender's real-time render engine, Eevee. I'd initially experimented with rendering in cycles, but because I'm limited to rendering with my iMac CPU, it would have taken a really long time. Like, a really long time. I had estimated that it would take a little over a year of consecutive rendering to get my short 2.5-minute episode rendered out in a decent quality. Eevee offered me a workflow typically only available in game engines, such as Unreal or Unity. I was able to navigate the viewport in real time and work within volumetric lighting with materials as they would appear in my final render. This really allowed me to see my scene come together without having to constantly interrupt the creative process to render. The obvious benefit to using Eevee over a game engine is that my entire 3D workflow is contained within a single application, with no need for exporting or importing assets. I model right within Eevee, which allows me to work and iterate quickly as ideas flow. Similar to the production design on a film, you typically don't want to spend a lot of time working on elements that aren't going to appear in your scene. When shooting a film, I tend to meticulously storyboard every shot in as much detail as I can. However, for the first episode of Dust and Wind, I spent a lot of time experimenting, and the episode went through many iterations. I tried a number of different set design layouts and attempted different camera moves, such as one long single take through the TV studio. I eventually settled on mostly static shots to keep the episode concise and render times low. I ended up spending a lot of time creating props and other assets that were eventually cut from the episode. I don't particularly mind though, because I'm still learning Blender, and I discount the time that I spent creating those assets as an amazing learning opportunity to get better at modeling. Plus, they could all be easily repurposed in future episodes. Reusing assets within a scene is a great way to fill up the space without doing more work than necessary. I was able to duplicate the emergency exit, TV camera, ceiling lights, floor mats and cables, and studio lights to add detail across the interior part of the scene. I grabbed some elements from Blender Kit's free asset pack to combine with my own models, and duplicated them throughout the parking lot to really fill it up with debris from the tornado. I don't have much experience creating shaders, so I purchased a materials pack from Blender Market called Extreme PBR Evo. PBR, or physically based rendered materials, offer a number of advantages, including closer photorealistic properties, and this pack saved me a lot of time, allowing me to focus on other aspects of the creative process. Altogether, it took me about 8 weeks to complete the first episode of Dust and Wind, though the first few weeks did provide a pretty steep learning curve, and I think that I'm becoming faster and more efficient as I learn Blender. In part 2, I'll share my inspiration for the episode, as well as how I made the tornado and the destruction. Make sure to like and subscribe by clicking the bell icon for notifications about future episodes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.